How do you make your protagonist's love interest betray them in a believable and gut-wrenching way? And how do you make your readers feel glued to the page despite the sting of betrayal? That's exactly what we're discussing today. Be sure to stick till the end. Hey guys, Nour here, and welcome back to my channel! For those visiting for the first time, hello! I'm a fantasy author and my novel Divinity Falling was published last October. Be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon to get notified of my weekly writing advice videos and my occasional funny writing skits. A while back I shared a video with you on how to write a betrayal that hits readers in the feel, and I got a lot of positive feedback from so many of you about it. I'll leave that in the card up here if you haven't checked it out. So obviously, today we're also talking about character betrayal. However, I've decided to take it one step further and discuss how to write a romantic betrayal. Because a betrayal between lovers is probably the #1 way to make your readers feel things but still want to keep on reading. Remember, when you write a betrayal, you should choose a character that your protagonist cares about. Otherwise, the betrayal won't sting and your reader won't care. So the closer your character is to your protagonist, the better the betrayal will be. Also, I just want to put this disclaimer out there. This video isn't to say that every book must have a betrayal, especially a romantic one. Do it only if it has a purpose in the story you're writing. Many books don't have betrayals and they're still great. But if your story can benefit from a romantic betrayal, here's how to do it properly. Tip number 1. Like I said earlier, make sure the characters are close. Sure, the betrayer and the protagonist are in a romantic relationship, but that means nothing if it's just words. Besides, actions speak louder than words, am I right? What I'm really saying is that you should get us invested in their relationship first. Just because they kissed once in a game of spin the bottle doesn't make the reader invested. On the other hand, if we see the betrayer defend the protagonist when a situation calls for it, we start to like the betrayer and feel that they're truly the one for our protagonist. Little do we know, and little does our protagonist know, that pain is coming. This will sting more because while our protagonist falls in love, we're also falling in love with the betrayer. So in truth, we're trying to betray our protagonist and our reader at the same time. And that's the secret to a good betrayal. Tip number 2, you must choose if your betrayer is a traitor from the start. If they haven't always been a traitor and faking feelings for our protagonist, then you must consider what made them shift and turn to the dark side. Let's consider if they've been a traitor all along. This part, of course, depends on the kind of story you're writing. It won't work for every scenario. Maybe the betrayer is working for the enemy, and he only got close to the protagonist to get information out of them or to weaken them. You can do a lot of things with this type of traitor. The traitor could have a secret agenda for personal gain, such as wanting to have ties with a rich family or someone high up in the government through their relationship with the protagonist. Maybe the traitor is using the protagonist to gain popularity, or maybe to create a certain image for themselves. But inwardly, they don't actually care about the protagonist and they're really acting. They must fool our protagonist and readers. Though you can totally leave a few hints here and there that make readers raise their brows and have slight suspicion. Now, if the betrayer isn't a traitor from the start, what made them shift and become a traitor? Did they get threatened by someone that if they don't do something to the protagonist, then they or someone they love will be hurt? Did they get offered money? Maybe the protagonist's father, who doesn't like the betrayer, offered them money that way they could leave the protagonist and never show their face again. And being desperately in need of money, they took the offer and ran. There are so many ways you could go about this. And the great thing about this type of traitor is that they're not necessarily bad or full of bad intentions. It's more like life happened and forced their hand. You could also have your average romantic betrayal, where the betrayer is caught cheating on the protagonist. Why did they cheat? Who knows? Maybe it was weakness. Maybe that's how they've been all along and the protagonist just discovered the truth. Maybe they're no longer in love with the protagonist, but didn't know how to do the right thing. Maybe they were drunk and on drugs and their mind wasn't exactly there. Maybe it was a misunderstanding where the betrayer thought they were on a break. I'm looking at you, Ross from Friends. So yeah, you have endless possibilities here. But it all comes down to how well you make your readers fall in love with the betrayer first. If we root for the protagonist and the betrayer being together, the betrayal is that much more harder to take in. But that's exactly what makes a great story. Okay, my last tip. Tip number 3. If you want to write a romantic betrayal, but you hate the idea of hurting your protagonist, get over it. As a writer, you're supposed to hurt your protagonist. That's how you create conflict. Mentally prepare yourself before you start writing these characters and fall in love with them. Just keep reminding yourself that the betrayer is a betrayer and write it even if you hate making your protagonist miserable. And if you really can't stand your protagonist being sad, then maybe give them a secondary love interest ready to swoop in and put a smile on their face. It can even be the "it was the best friend all along" cliche, as long as you write it well. So there you have it. Those are my tips for you on how to write a romantic betrayal that stings. I'd love to know, are you planning on writing or have you ever written a romantic betrayal? Let me know in the comments. If you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe. I put out weekly writing advice videos that will take your story to the next level. Also, don't forget to follow me on social media to see what I'm up to from day to day and to chat with me. And before we go, I just want to give a quick shout out to Sarah Frayne and Lori B from my shoutouts here over on Patreon, as well as all my amazing patrons. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for your support. And remember, Nour for president!